Hello, everyone. Welcome to BizzTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickaway Creators. Today, we have Mr. Aditya Nagarkar with us. He's a high potential leader with over 2 decades of proven expertise in learning and development, that's L&D, and organizational development, that's called OD. In addition, he has vast experience in leading people and managing shared service operations for clients across the world in several industries. And at the same time, he is passionate about psychological marketing, consumer behaviors, product marketing, and the strategies, and of course, business storytelling. So these are all the things that he's passionate about, and he loves to do in his free times as well. I tried my level best to, mention few things of from his profile, but now it's time to introduce you to the man himself. Hello, Adi. How are you?
Hi, Sagar. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I am honored to be part of this interview, which is going to be hosted on your website. So, thank you for that.
Please all ours, and thank you very much for joining us for this session. All right, so for our viewers, I want you to understand one more thing. It was my concern and my issues that we are recording this session again. We were supposed to do it yesterday, but yeah, Adi was such a support that now we are doing it again. So let's, without wasting further more time, let me ask him to brief us about his journey so far. I mean, so that our viewers can understand more about you in your own words, if you can, please.
Sure, Sagar. Thank you. So, I started my career back in 2000, and my first job was with 24 bar 7. It's called 24/7.ai now. Back then, it was called 24/7 Customer. For the first couple of months that we joined, when we started, for the first couple of months, we were on the customer acquisition stage, and we were talking to a lot of customers, prospective customers, actually trying to get them to partner with us and give us their business. And we started out in the innovator building in ITPL, and I remember we were short of space, we were growing, and it was pretty cramped, like three or four people in one cubicle. And then we shifted, as we started getting clients, we shifted to a larger space within ITPL in the creator building. It was about a 165,000 square feet office that we had. One of the biggest offices that I had worked in at that point of time. My first job with them, but I had done a lot of these summer jobs and worked in a variety of offices and industries to gain some experience. But that was part time. So anyway, first couple of months we were on the customer acquisition phase, but then I was part of the core team. And actually, I was in the second batch of 24/7 when I joined, and I was sent to the US to move the first voice process from US to India, and this was for a federal government project.
Mhm.
And it was one of those projects which actually kick-started the journey of 24/7 and defined its success there. So, as part of two big projects, one was the federal government project, another one was in the automotive space for the rental car, in the rental car space to be specific.
Mhm.
So, I worked in these two projects back to back, and then moved into quality control, quality management, and then finally was leading a team for a while. So that is where my career actually started, and then I moved into various other companies as an assistant manager, then grew myself way up into operations management. And at HP, I used to manage the global e-business center for
Mhm.
the supply chain piece, and this was managing pretty much worldwide operations. So my typical day would start at about 7:30, managing customers on the APAC region, all the way till about sometimes I used to stay back in the office till about 3 a.m. To cater to US and LATAM customers. So it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun. You get to learn a lot when you work with people from different cultures, and I've made a lot of good friends right from 24/7 to HP. Some of the clients that I worked with, they're still in touch, and so it all matters down to those connections that you make.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
yeah. So from HP, I moved on to Wipro, which is one of the largest IT companies in India, and I was initially part of the telecom project managing operations for the BCP site in Chennai. Then I moved on to Pune to manage the core team,
Mhm.
and later on I moved into L&D. So during the first 12, 14 years of my career, I was always passionate about learning, but it used to be an added responsibility. So I used to go to my manager and say, "This is something I enjoy doing. I would like to go ahead and do that." So while I used to be engaged in product training or the policy and procedures of the work that people used to do for new joiners or refresher training, I also started developing people skills, understanding what it takes to become more effective in your role as a people leader.
Mhm.
And I was very clear that you don't start training people in leadership skills when they become people managers, but you have to start doing that much earlier, so that when they are actually assigned a team, they already have the skill, they already have the knowledge, and they are ready to lead the team from day one without having to make any mistakes, without having to have any friction there. So they have the knowledge, they just have to apply it. So
That's right.
that was where my journey into leadership training happened. And at Wipro, I made that full time shift. So initially, I moved into the space of L&D, but more in terms of managing the back end process,
Mhm.
because as an L&D professional, it's not about just training. You have to understand the entire cycle of what happens in the L&D space. You have to understand how different elements come together, and what is involved to give that great experience to your learners. So for the first year or so, in my role as an L&D professional, I used to manage the back-end operations for the Wipro's central training function,
Mhm.
and this was across India. So it entailed working with our service providers, external partners, vendors, suppliers, all of those people who we would actually partner with for their infrastructure or for materials, all of anything that's associated
Mhm.
with training, right? So
Mhm.
right from ordering your, so at every location, each manager would go ahead and keep track of what's being ordered from each vendor in terms of stationery or course material. And this is, we're talking about servicing more than a few thousand units, because
Yeah.
Wipro would always hire large numbers from campuses. So it required a lot of coordination, negotiation, all of those things, from pricing and procurement and all of that. So it was very interesting. So it gave me an understanding of what really happens in the background, and that's when I moved a year later into actual leadership training. So I
Mhm.
started training campus hires and moved my way up progressively, but very quickly, into actually training managers and senior managers and senior leaders of Wipro across their business units.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So it's like started from 24/7 and then to a business coach and of course a corporate coach precisely. That's the sum up of the exact journey. And of course it's still ongoing. Talking about people and talking about teams, I mean you of course have managed so many teams and training individuals. What's your method of people management? I won't say the team, but the people management that you see every now and then.
So, um, so through my years of working with various companies and many different managers, and everybody has their own personality types. A lot of times people say, I have a manager of this kind which I enjoy working with. Some others would say I have a very difficult manager. I don't want to work with this person. But I believe there's no good or bad or right or wrong here. Everybody gives you a certain kind of exposure, learning. I've had some managers who are excellent to work with, and I've had some managers who are a little uncomfortable to work with, but I've learned a lot from them.
Mhm.
And what I am today is a sum of all those experiences, and especially the kind of challenges you get thrown at, and how you perform in those challenging environments will actually take you forward. Because as humans, generally we tend to stay within our comfort zones. We rarely push ourselves because sometimes we feel, uh, it's not possible, and we undermine our own potential. but somebody else possibly sees that and they
That's
are
right.
pushing us, and that actually will help in defining who you are over a period of time. So when I look back today, I may not have seen the bigger picture in probably maybe about 10-15 years behind, but today I'm able to appreciate each and one of those experiences, and that's what I always tell youngsters: be ready to take on challenges, because you will always look back and say, this is something that I wish I could revisit, but you really can't do that.
That's right. That's really wonderful. Very well put. Moving further, if you talk about coaching and if you talk about experiences, I mean, it all comes with this learning. Um, you train individuals. You have been dealing with new, employees who get hired towards the organization. If I'm not wrong, regarding training and coaching, what's the basic advice that you mention every time, the basic one that's really important for the young viewers that are really viewing this video?
So I think it's very important that as young professionals, and I wish I had this advice when I started. The first I would say is, you have to have a mentor. You have to have somebody who's going to give you absolutely unbiased advice. And when I say unbiased advice, it means the person who possibly is not connected with you professionally at work in terms of, influencing your decision, or you actually being influenced by what that person does. So if that person is completely objective, which means that you have developed a certain kind of or a certain level of trust with that person, you need a mentor in your life to help you understand what needs to be done. Because I've been stuck a couple of times, many times in my career, in decisions as to what needs to be done. And we are emotional beings, and we do get carried away sometimes. We get stuck in that moral dilemma. What do I do? The ask is that we have to get this done, but not at the cost of people. So it's always a head versus heart conundrum, right? It's that syndrome that we have. Do I go ahead and please the people that I have, or do I go ahead and get the job done? So that's what we grapple with at different points in our career. But as a mentor who can give you that unflinching advice, somebody who can give you that very objective advice as to what needs to be done, and stay true to yourself, I think that's very important. So find a mentor. And like I mentioned, when you asked me the previous question, what is it? How do I handle my team? It's all about, treating them as equals, right? So, and that's what the millennials, the younger population today, they do respect the older population. I'm not saying no, but they also want to be appreciated for the skill that they bring into the workplace, the
That's right.
expertise or the intelligence or the cognitive abilities they have. So never judge people. I would tell young professionals that very simply, give people the respect they deserve. Never say no to challenges. I've seen a lot of times people are given some things to do, and they say, this is not in my job description, this is not part of my department, this is not the work that I was signed up for. But where I am today is not because of sticking to just L&D. Through my career, I've been fortunate to work on a variety of initiatives which are actually part of HR,
Mhm.
and that's added a lot of value for me in the L&D space. So I've worked on competency frameworks, I've worked on succession plans, which a lot of L&D professionals don't actually do. But
Mhm.
it gives you that holistic picture of how to actually manage talent for an organization.
That's right.
And when you get a little insight into how HR actually functions, and you use that information and leverage that information in your L&D work, it adds a lot of value to people. Right? So the third thing I would say is learn new things. Learning never stops. We've heard this often, but I think it's very important. Yesterday, the Times of India had a very nice article on its second page. It talks about how NASCOM has actually given a whole a plethora of courses, online
Mhm.
courses available for professionals, and this is a great opportunity for people to go and pick it up. And of course, lastly, I would say, ask for help. And I've seen professionals grapple with that hesitation, saying, should I go and ask for help? What will the other person think? Is he going to think I'm asking a stupid question? I should know the answer, so why am I asking that? A lot of times we compound our fears, we amplify our fears, and we think the other person's going to judge us. and we go ahead with that assumption, and that can be a little too heavy for us in the long run. So ask questions if you have them, but clarify your intent. And you say, I think this is the answer, but I still want to know if I'm right, and that's why I'm asking you. And I could do with your recommendation. I could do with your views. Your views will help me get clarity. So I think these four things, right? So the first being, seek a mentor. Never say it's not my job.
Hmm.
Learn every day, and don't judge people, and of course ask for help. So these
Of
four
course.
five things I believe is going to really help professionals moving forward.
That's very beautiful, beautifully put. In this continuation, I would say, I mean, I'm talking about the learning trends right now. So, what are the learning trends or projections for the next 5 years, or let's say 10 years that you see?
Well, 10 years is a little too far off to even think
Let's
about,
talk about five
because
years then.
yeah. So the point is, there's so much innovation happening in the world today. We don't know what's going to happen even 5 years down the line. The pace of change, the pace of technology disruption is way too fast. But I did read a couple of reports that came out. 2025, they say, and it might be very hard to actually digest all of these because these are just projections.
Hmm.
Nobody knows whether it will even happen. So there are a team of experts which actually said, 5 years down the line, you will not even have schools, and you will not have places where people will go to for complete education. Like how kids go to school today, and they spend 10 years, 12 years in a particular building, and they're getting a full school certificate and all of that. What these experts are saying is that 5 years down the line, people will go, or kids will go to different universities to get specialization or to get knowledge across different topics. So you'll have, like how we have in the industry today, or in organizations, we have something called as centers of excellence, or COEs. That's how your universities, your educational institutions are going to try going to
Hmm.
actually transform the learning space. So you want to learn about mathematics, you have to go to a particular place which specializes in applied mathematics and all of that. The same with science, you'll probably have to go to a different place. So that's what they're saying. We don't know whether it's going to be a reality, but that's what also happened when uh, the telephone was invented. People said, you can't imagine having to call somebody else. It has to be at your desk. You can't have a phone in your
Exactly.
pocket. But now we don't just have phones in the pocket, and it's pretty much everywhere. We just can't live without cell
We
phones.
always have it in our hands actually now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's okay. That's little. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Although we are techies by heart, everyone like we millennials, of course, are. Um, do you think this learning trends, this high rate disruption of technology, sometimes leaves a big bunch of population? I'm talking about as a global population behind it. I mean, if we talk about, let's say, if there are no schools. I mean, if let's take this example that you're saying. So if we talk about India, 80% of the Indian population haven't tapped to the edtech genre right now because they are into the tier two or tier three cities. We are still thinking about whether it's going to work or something like that. So do you think it leaves a big bunch of population behind, and then the other becomes aliens for the rest of the individuals or the rest of the population?
So good question. So the thing is, it's a sad reality that we have kids today who are supposed to be sitting and doing online school, but they don't have laptops, they don't have mobile phones, and they don't have fast enough internet speeds to sit in an online class. And I'm talking about government schools and government institutions, and not wanting to get onto the political side of the discussion, but I'm saying a lot needs to be done on the infrastructure side.
That's right.
If you're expecting people to get educated, even with the disruption that's happening and all of that, the government definitely needs to invest in the basic infrastructure. I mean, if you know Maslow's hierarchy talks about roti kapda makan and then
Yeah.
internet and all of that. Uh, yes, there has been a lot of effort and investment in infrastructure, IoT, and building smart cities and smart villages. But honestly, I think we're pace is not as fast as we expect it to be, or not where it
I
should
mean, I
be.
believe the foundation is not right. I mean, if I talk about a smart city, let's make a normal city first. Then we'll talk about a smart city. That's my approach. Let's make all the cities a normal city, a regular city, and then we'll talk about some smart city.
Yes. So, I mean, if you're asking me, we should be a little faster in the pace because the
Yeah,
world is changing fast. The good thing, however, is that you'll see you'll see many stories of people who cannot even afford to pay university fees and education, but they're getting scholarships. Not put, I don't intend to put down a particular status of the society or a particular section of the society, but I've read stories of people who are kids of auto drivers or vegetable vendors who have become very successful professionals in the industry today. So, so all I'm saying is that there is an appetite to learn. The only possible reason why they're not getting the exposure to learn is because they don't have the right conditions, and that's what we need to focus on. The good side is there are a lot of these NGOs, a lot of startups which are actually focusing on that,
an
right?
academy, if you talk about, I mean, they have so many scholarships for individuals.
Yes, obviously, at the end of the day, absolutely, what happens is when something is when the balance tips to one side, something else will come up and try and neutralize the effect.
That's right.
So, and it's very nice to see a lot of people taking interest in getting quality education out to the masses there.
That's right. That's right. That was really wonderful. Last question. I mean, on a very fine note. Let's end this on a very fine note. Um, you have worked with a lot of corporates. I mean, the big corporates. What's the difference between a startup culture and established corporates in terms of employee relations planning or customer relations planning?
So let's talk about the culture. So what happens in a startup is typically, it's they have a particular vision, and they have certain amount of funding that they have to go ahead and deliver what they have promised. So there is a huge amount of ask and a huge urgency to deliver on that, right? So it's very, very fast paced. You'll probably see people who have worked in startups and they work like 14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours a day. That was how it was when I was in 24/7. Very, very fast paced, but we enjoyed it. Now, I'm not saying that your larger organizations don't have urgency, but it becomes a lot more process driven, right? So it becomes more organized. There is not much of chaos that happens because in startups, you'll see they're still trying to figure out how to get things done. But because there is that urgency, sometimes what happens is they're not able to focus on, getting the processes in place because everybody's busy doing pretty much everything. But over a period of time, yes, they do start putting things in place. They do become organized, and that's why you'll see about 90% of startups they fail within the first year, year and a half,
Mhm,
and the failure rate is very high because they're not able to do everything right. And you'll see that people are good at doing one thing or two things well, not everything, and that's why you need a team. And you need to leverage energies that people bring to the workplace, the strengths that they have. You can't expect one person to do everything, and that's what I believe. As corporates, they have an assessment of the potential. They understand how people work, and they're able to go ahead and channelize that very well. They have these set processes and policies, but even that is changing in the gig economy. Now what's happening is there's a lot of entrepreneurial culture in organizations where they're saying, hey, you know what, this is your regular BAU or business as usual work that you do, but we want you to get out of what you do and spend X number of days in a year in a different project which you've never worked before, in a different department which you know nothing about. Now,
mhm,
the beauty of that is because I don't know anything about it, I come with fresh perspectives. If I'm experienced in that, I know all the filters and I know all the blinders that's going to stop me from thinking outside the box. So this entrepreneurial culture, which is the startup culture, is what is also creeping in into corporates today, which is driving innovation. And also the startups are picking up. And of course, it's being built by industry experts. It's built by seasoned industry professionals. So over a period of time, they do bring a little bit of method to the madness, if I may say, and bring some structure into that chaos. So it's over
Hmm.
a period of time that happens.
So being organized, and the degree of being organized is actually opposed to the time invested. That's how it is.
Yes, over a period of time, yes, you'll have to go ahead and ensure that there is a process in way we do things. It can't be haphazard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. All right, great. It was lovely having this discussion with you, Aditya. I hope you also enjoyed everything. I mean, we talked about your journey, we talked about your approaches and everything that you have seen in your life. And because of course you're a coach, you're a mentor, you have been training, individuals in your journey so far. So I hope it was a really helpful session for our viewers. So I would love to, of course, thank you so much for sharing such great insight with us. And we look forward to having a wonderful chat like this with you again in future on some other trending topics in the international business industry. And for our viewers, if you like this chat with Aditya, please do click on that like button and like this video, share this video, click on the subscribe button, subscribe this channel of ClickAway Creators to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming in from industry leaders like Aditya. This was Sagar for BizzTalk World signing off. Thank you very much.